At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve. It's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
KFI AM 640. It's Later with Mo Kelly. We are live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app and on YouTube. We're getting ready to open up the chat and the show, the video live stream in just a moment. But I got to say, we have a huge show planned for you tonight. We have 3 different in-studio, and that means live on the video stream, 3 in-studio guests over the course of the show. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, I'll be joined on the show by Spectrum reporter Taylor Torregano. We're going to talk about Altadena and Pasadena small businesses, how they were impacted, and also how they're recovering in the wake of the fires a few months ago. And actor Oba Babatunde, who you know from SWAT, as he plays Sergeant Daniel Hondo Harrelson Sr. on the show. He's going to join us in studios. We talk about the ending of the SWAT series, which is coming up in the next week and a half. And also, it is Pickle Madness in hour 3 with Nick Pagliocchini, who's going to bring, I don't know why he's doing it, but he's doing it. He's going to bring some pickle lemonade and some other pickle treats into the studio, specifically for me to taste and probably dislike considerably. Probably. And welcome back to the show, Mark Ronner. Where the hell have you been?
Well, I had a little dental issue over the weekend and another traumatic marathon man-like experience at the dentist. He did everything but demand to know, is it safe? Is it safe?
Did you feel violated?
Pretty violated, yeah. Yeah.
You, like me, we do not have a fond appreciation for the process of going to the dentist. Now, I like my dentist, Dr. Mellert. In fact, I'm going tomorrow. As a matter of fact, that's kind of weird how that happened. Serendipitous.
Should I use yours? Should I go to yours now? Because mine terrifies me.
I swear by my dentist, Dr. Mellert, dentisttorrance.com.
Does he drug you up? What's he do? Why is he?
If you are high stress like me,
yes.
He can. But it's the last alternative, not the first alternative. But he's very, very considerate and understanding as far as dental anxiety. And that's part of the reason why I do go there. His staff is wonderful, and they have always taken great care of me.
I don't think I ever told you this, but the dentist I had prior to this, before I started working at KFI, they would take my blood pressure before they started the procedure. And they sent me home once. It's like, no, it's too high. We're not doing this.
No, they take my blood pressure as well. If they're doing a procedure, not if I'm just getting a dental cleaning.
Yeah.
But they will take your blood pressure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I need to be almost knocked out for these things because I'm just in stark terror from the moment I walk in the door at the dentist.
I am as well. I mean, there's some things that they have done on my teeth where it's like that. I don't like that smell. I don't like the smell of flesh and teeth burning and that kind of thing. It's hard for me to deal with, but you got to deal with it.
The smell, the sound, the grinding, there's no positive aspect of any of that.
When I was getting a tooth implant, the worst part was when they were drilling through my jawbone.
Yeah.
And you feel it push through. It's almost like you're trying to poke into like a medicine bottle of aspirin. They have that safety seal on top and you have to poke through it. Yeah. Same thing.
Okay.
Same thing. Why? You might have an implant in your future?
Yeah, that's plenty for now. Thank you.
Oh, it's not fun. You got to hear some of the stories from Tuwala. He has some great stories as well.
I think I can do without them, actually, because I need to go back fairly soon.
I do have to say it's nice to have you back. I don't know if everyone wants to have you back because they were falling in love with Eileen Gonzalez. You don't seem to be as sexy as she is.
She seems like a nice lady, and further deponent saith not.
And we're joined again by Sam Zia, the sex doctor, who's also filling in for Stefan tonight. Welcome back, Sam.
Pleasure to be here always. I love filling in.
Hopefully we have the most fun. Hopefully we have more fun than anyone. That is my goal.
You have no idea how much I look forward to it. And looking at the guest list tonight, I am pumped. I've never been this excited for in-studio guests.
It's the pickles, isn't it?
Yes, it's the pickles.
It is the pickles.
But beyond that, since we have the video live stream, if you don't know, we're video live streaming right now. You can go to YouTube at Mr. Mo Kelly, MrMokelly. We have a chat. We have a community of friends and fans and family who love the show. If you would like to join us, definitely like and subscribe. I say that because if you like and subscribe, it'll make it easier to find the live stream in the future. And we have some regulars who join us every single night. Hopefully you're in a good spirit and want to have fun with us. And it's also interactive. You'll hear from me. You'll probably hear from Sam. I don't know if you hear from Mark. He's antisocial. But you'll hear from most of us. We'll directly answer your questions in the YouTube chat. If I don't answer, then Carnisha, who's managing the chat, will do it as well. It's a huge show tonight. We have big time guests. We're going to have big time fun. And there are two other stories that we will get to over the course of the evening. In fact, in the next segment, we have to talk about hepatitis A, unfortunately, which is now considered officially to be an outbreak here in LA County. And if you've been following this show, this is something that I had been talking about over the past few years of how the hepatitis alphabet, A, B, and C, can and will be an issue. Now, I was linking it to homelessness. I'll talk about that as well, but it's something that we should all be mindful of. It's obviously very contagious and impacts all of us directly. We'll talk about that. And also, I don't know if we have any beer lovers in the house. Mark Ronner's hand goes up. Sam, Dr. Sam, the sex doctor.
I have beer in my family. My brother runs a brewery.
What? What?
Oh, yeah. Tarantula Hill in Thousand Oaks, founder and CEO.
So when are they coming in studio for testing and tasting?
We've had them. We've done live broadcasts from there with 570, and I think we might have done
No. We're talking about coming in this studio.
Yeah, come on.
I'll bring some stuff in, and he's also opening up another brewery in Simi Valley. We'll talk about that later.
Well, Southern California business, we must highlight and feature.
Oh, for sure.
We're going to find out the California beers which were named best in the world during a recent international competition. Best in the world. Now, I can't say that I am a very, very knowledgeable beer connoisseur. I can't say that.
You strike me as the Miller Lite type.
No. I actually do not particularly care for American beers.
Really?
Yeah, I was more like a Heineken or just some other beer. When I was in college and you didn't have money, they had like Milwaukee's Best and Rolling Rock. It's just trash beers, you know. And then someone who had a little money brought a Heineken one day. I said, oh, I might be able to have 1 or 2 or 8 of these.
The things you find out about people, you and the guy from Blue Velvet. Okay.
Yeah, well, look, have you ever had like Pabst Blue Ribbon?
I'm afraid so.
Okay. You know some bad beers when you've had some bad beers.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how it is here, but it was the hipster beer of choice in Seattle, and I just found the stuff to be worse than drinking asparagus pea. Terrible beer.
And not only that, some people were drinking Coors, and I have a personal aversion to that for a number of reasons. Coors and I don't get along.
It's just like drinking carbonated water. What?
They have a problematic history. Let me put it that way. The Coors family. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. You might want to Google. Yeah.
Is this part of my training for being half black?
Yes. As a matter of fact.
Okay.
Yes. There will be an exam at the end of the evening.
I'll get on this. Thank you.
It's later with Mo Kelly. We're going to talk about hepatitis A, unfortunately, when we come back.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked number 1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and number 2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve. It's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI AM 640. It's later with Mo Kelly. We're live on YouTube in the iHeartRadio app. You can see the show. You can look in on what we're doing behind the scenes on YouTube at Mr. Mo Kelly. Let's talk about hepatitis A. This is actually connected to things that I've discussed in previous months and years, actually, regarding homelessness. Let me just quickly recap. I thought that we were going about dealing with the homelessness issue the wrong way. People made it more about RVs. People made it more about the unsightly nature of what they may see connected to homelessness. They even talked about crime. I was trying to make the point that not only was it a public safety issue, you could talk about the fires, you could talk about crime, but it was also a public health issue. And that was not emphasized, the public health aspect of it. And I talked about the hepatitis alphabet of A, B, and C, which could be connected to the homelessness issue. Then when I read yesterday, and we get a chance to talk about it today, about how hepatitis A is now considered to be an outbreak in Los Angeles County, I hope people will reassess how we talk about homelessness. Here's why. Hepatitis A cases tripled from 2023 to 2024. Tripled. Numerically, that's 165 cases reported in the county last year, and as many as 29 have been reported so far this year. Tripled in 1 year. So we are escalating. Now, if you don't know, hepatitis A can be spread from person to person, usually fecal oral route. In other words, you can have close contact through contaminated food or drink. Public health concerns include not washing hands enough. Those are the things that we could control. But if you're talking about the unhoused population, it's less likely to be able to be controlled because they don't have access generally to sanitation like hand washing and toilets. If you think that this hepatitis outbreak is not in some way connected to, I can't say the rise in homelessness, the numbers may change, but let's just say the prevalence of homelessness, then we're missing the point. We're not understanding the assignment, as they say. These two things are connected. They go hand in hand. But we keep talking about homelessness, and it's not wrong. I think it's a lack of focus. It's misguided focus. And even though we may have the best of intentions, we may not have the best of actions. We may not have the best execution. Where I know in my neighborhood, when I drive out and I may see the RVs or I may see the homelessness encampments, I even have to remind myself it's more than just that. It's not necessarily just that. Now, we always talk about what we see and the direct impact of the homelessness and how it may, impact our lives, or we may not like what it may look like. But oftentimes we forget there is a considerable public health aspect to it. And here it is, hepatitis A, and it's tripled in a year. And you know what? And this is where it gets real complicated because we've somehow become of the opinion that vaccines don't have any place in society. But I'm here to tell you there is a hepatitis A vaccine. It's safe, effective, and offers long-term protection. You can get vaccinated, and it's one of those things that you can do to help stave off this issue. But sometimes we as Americans and Californians let our own personal politics get in the way of our own public health goals. So now hepatitis A is an outbreak here in Los Angeles County. And not unlike measles, it doesn't have to be this way. We don't need to have people dying from hepatitis. Now, are we going to be smart enough to avoid that? I don't know. We've lost 2 children because of measles. Of course, they're 2 different diseases, but the mentality which make this more pervasive, I would say, are exactly the same. In the way that we want to give excuses as to why we don't want to vaccinate our children for measles, children die. Well, if we don't take hepatitis A very seriously, guess what, everyone? Guess what? People will die probably unnecessarily. Now, it doesn't have to happen. It does not have to happen. And for all the talk about how much we dislike homelessness, or all the talk about how Mayor Karen Bass, which is only LA City, not LA County, but how Mayor Karen Bass and also the LA County Board of Supervisors need to do more to control this homelessness issue, they're probably not talking about the hepatitis A portion of the issue, because we're not really serious about homelessness. We just don't want to see it. If we don't see it, we're okay with it. If it's in somebody else's neighborhood, it's okay. If I don't have to see the RVs in my neighborhood, it's okay. If I don't see the homelessness encampments, it's okay. But just because you don't see them, it doesn't mean that hepatitis A is any less prevalent. Oh, my goodness, look, it's an outbreak regardless of homelessness, according to some numbers, being down. So what does that tell you? We're not necessarily addressing some of the main issues which are either causing or exacerbating homelessness. Now, we can blame whoever we want, and I'm sure we live in a period of blame. It's always like we have to blame Governor Newsom. He's thrown money at it. It hasn't gotten any better. We have to blame the LA County Board of Supervisors. They're not doing anything to make it any better. We have to blame Mayor Karen Bass. It's not getting any better. But you know what? That doesn't actually address the problem. Because honestly, the hepatitis A can impact you, me. It doesn't matter what political persuasion you may happen to be. It does not matter at all. So either we can look at this through primrose-colored glasses and make this situation worse, or we can let our personal politics about vaccines also poison our discussion and this debate around homelessness, or we can get to the heart of the matter. We can do one of the two or the three options which are available. We can actually take it seriously, or we can take it politically. And if we take it seriously, then people don't necessarily have to suffer unnecessarily from hepatitis A. If we want to take it politically, then people will probably die and it'll probably get worse. But given our most recent history as a county and state, we'll probably choose the latter of the political, because it's much more fun to moan and complain on social media and point fingers and blame particular elected officials and politicians than actually protect people. It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We are live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. We're going to talk about Altadena. We're going to talk about Pasadena. And we're going to talk about small businesses in the wake of the fires when we come back in just a moment.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
AM 640. It is Later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, and we'll be back up on YouTube in just a second. But I want to introduce you to someone new, someone you've probably seen before, but you've not heard before here on this show. And you know that I do a lot of work with Spectrum News, and I get introduced to a lot of great professionals who are very knowledgeable in the TV realm, and it's nice to be able to bring them into the radio realm. So I want to introduce you to Taylor Torregano, who is a reporter at Spectrum News, and she today has been working on this piece regarding Pasadena and Altadena small business and how they are maneuvering and navigating this space after the fires and devastation. So, Taylor Torregano, it's a pleasure to see you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mo Kelly. It's an honor to be here. This is cool to be on the other side of things.
What's it like then? Let me just start there, digress very quickly. Yeah. What do you see as the difference between radio and TV in terms of the storytelling and connecting with an audience?
I don't know that there's much of a difference other than being here. Obviously, as a reporter, I'm like boots on the ground, right? So I'm out in the field running all over Los Angeles. Today it was Altadena and Pasadena, and it just depends on the day. You here are kind of an anchor, like what we have over there in studio. So that would be the biggest difference. But other than that, you're still doing the storytelling.
When you set out today, how do you go about compiling that story that you may not know what it's going to sound like, what it's going to look like when it's completed?
Yeah, it's really cool. That's maybe one of, if not my favorite part of it, is kind of the adventure I get to go on, the journey that I get to go on first to then bring my viewers along with me. So today, you know, I showed up at one business owner's establishment. It was one of the first times she had gotten back. She owns Code Ninjas in Altadena. thank God her business did survive the flames, but literally right now, I mean, she's surrounded by a ring of just destruction. And if you're not familiar with Code Ninjas, they do a lot of coding for kids. So they own the business that has, all these kids are super into Roblox and Minecraft, and I don't even know all the names.
It's not our generation.
Yeah. But they have 3D printing. And so basically she's channeling that obsession into coding, into engineering and things that they could really use to turn into careers. So she goes in today and you can still see, the remnants of what was left behind. She has on the whiteboard January 7th, and it was a lesson.
Oh, the structure is there, but the building is unusable.
Exactly. No power, no water. Today was the first day or one of 2 days, I think she said, that she's been back since. So everything around her has been burned to the ground. She's right next to the Bunny Museum, if you're familiar with the area. You can see it in complete ruins. She survived the flames, but you can see there's ash all inside. She's cleaning up. And so she's talking about, what do we do now?
As a brick and mortar business still, although unconventional, is still a brick and mortar business. So she's been completely off the scene, as it were, since the fires, correct? She has not had like a satellite or an alternative location.
She does own she's a franchise. So she has other locations, one in Silver Lake, where she's trying to bring her kiddos there now. But she says a lot of the Altadena kids aren't going because they're just trying to figure out day to day because they've lost everything. Their parents aren't able to bring them to after school programs because in many cases they're not even going to school still. So
still not going to school.
That's what she was saying.
Oh my.
It's just, it really just disrupted everything. And then the other woman, there's a second business owner that I went to, Play Lab Beauty in Pasadena. She's another brick and mortar who survived, but her entire inventory, her warehouse, everything that she was using to stock her new business was at her house that burned down in the fires. So she lost everything. And she was telling me the story about how, they're trying to figure out how to move forward. But she started crying because she's like, oh my God, my kids went to Code Ninja. And there's always these connections. We were talking out there to T. It's not even 6 degrees of separation.
Not at all.
Everybody knows somebody who's been affected directly.
Okay, let me throw another wrinkle into this. We're in a period of economic uncertainty. Larger picture, your businesses, supply chains may be disrupted because of tariffs. Is that playing a role at all in how these small businesses are trying to get back on their feet?
Absolutely, especially in the case of this. Her name is Vanessa, and she owns Play Lab Beauty. Her entire store is Korean beauty. It's all imported from Korea. And so she's like, I feel like I can't catch a break because, yes, they're brick and mortar, their little 600 square foot square, like essentially box
shop.
Yeah, but it's so small. I want to even get it's like this. It's not a.
It's
big
a room.
place. It's a room.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great way to describe. It's a room. She's like, we were just starting. We were just launching our new business, and we were so excited about expanding. We don't have much space here, so everything that we have, all of our storage was at my house, and that all went up in flames. And now she's trying to get all the inventory back, and she can't because everything is really expensive. But she says she's trying not to get too caught up in all the headlines because things change. So it's such a fluid situation, right? Mm-hmm. And she's just not certain about what it all looks like. But right now, the costs are skyrocketing.
You're not part of the story, but you can't be completely separate from the story. You are from the Inland Empire. Yeah. You, like me, we were reporting on the fires for the most part while they were happening. What was your vantage point from the fires? May it have touched you or your coworkers or friends or family?
Man, I mean, anybody who's from this area does know somebody who's lost everything, and that was really hard. I think we had somebody on the show talk about a psychologist and a life coach, and he was talking about a sense of hopelessness or even survivor's guilt. We were talking outside about survivor's guilt.
You and Tuala?
Yeah. you feel that, and the psychologist was recommending that if you can't do anything else, just hold space for your people, the ones who have lost everything. You don't really feel like you can do much because what can you offer when you've lost your entire house?
Right.
But you can just be that person that they can talk to and that they can lean on and they can call and just be like, I don't know how to navigate FEMA. I don't know how to go through all this building permits process, but I can talk to you about it. We can go to lunch, or I can pick up your kids for, date night while you go take a break from it all. Because you can feel the heaviness. Even today, the business owner I spoke with, she was fine 1 second. And as she was connecting the dots, she found out I went to Code Ninja where her kids used to go, and she broke down in tears. So she was just, she's like, I'm not a crier, but now it'll be the tiniest thing. And I'm breaking down because it's heavy and you can feel that.
If you're just joining me, Taylor Torregano from Spectrum News, reporter for Spectrum News, joins me in studio. She's presently working on a piece talking about small businesses in Pasadena and Altadena, what they've gone through and what they are facing as they continue the journey on the road back. Their stories are like many small businesses that we may not know the names of. We may not know the names of the owners, but their story is one that needs to be told. And Taylor Torregano, with the help of Spectrum News, is telling that story. And Taylor, before we go to this break, when is it going to air, to the best of your knowledge?
I believe day after tomorrow, Thursday morning. Things change, but I think so.
We understand in this business. We'll have more with Taylor Torregano in just a moment. It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're live on YouTube and KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere there on the iHeartRadio app.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 300 programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI AM 640 and also YouTube. It's Later with Mo Kelly. We are live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And if you're just tuning in, my guest in studio right now, reporter for Spectrum, Taylor Torregano. We're talking about her latest feature that she's working on for Spectrum News, specifically about small businesses and how they are dealing with not only the after effects of the fire, but also trying to deal with the wider implications, as you said, Taylor, about the tariffs. And I didn't think about that until you mentioned it, but it's still something that's part of the story, which brings me to my first question in this segment. How often are you surprised when you may think a story is going to lead you one way and then it takes you in an altogether different direction?
A lot of people ask for questions beforehand, and I never send them. Because,
Thank you. Thank you.
You just never know. Actually, more often than not, it takes a different turn. And you kind of just go with it, I learn more information just like you're doing now, where you ask me something and then something I say may lead you to a different question.
Yes.
And it's just a fluid conversation versus 10 questions that we have to stick to. And now you're rehearsing answers. So a lot of the time I do go a different route, or I just learn tidbits of information that really complete the story and make it more full, more relatable, make you and I, or the person that I'm interviewing, somebody that we can see ourselves in, which is the goal, right?
Was this something that you had been thinking about, or an assignment editor had given to you? How do you go about deciding which stories, which people you're going to feature and stories you're going to tell?
This one, a lot of people pitch stories. So actually the news peg, as we call it, of this one is a coalition. Let me just read this. It's LA Strong Comms Coalition, which is a group of different PR people, PR agencies that banded together to form a coalition to give free pro bono services to businesses affected by the fires.
Oh, okay.
So they pitched this to me as, these are businesses that are needing help getting back on their feet. We're providing this pro bono service. And so we made it into a complete story. Instead of just featuring the businesses, we also featured the part, because it all fits into this like lifting as you climb, this community banding together to help each other get back in many different ways.
We talked about 3 different businesses, if I'm not mistaken, last segment. If we were to broaden this out, how many businesses do you think between Altadena and Pasadena, if you were to just take a guess, are impacted in a similar way? Are we talking dozens, hundreds?
I would say thousands. Because even if your business didn't get, I passed by on the way to Code Ninjas. I passed by this entire strip mall that was full of, I would say maybe 30 businesses, small. And I talked to the property owner there 3 months ago. And he was like, yeah, we have a little bit of smoke damage, but all these businesses are going to be able to come back because the building was still standing. I passed by today and they were tearing it down.
They were raising the buildings?
They were demolishing it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that as the reality of what is happening sinks in and we start to see just how extensive this damage really is, I think a lot more people are going to continue to be impacted. Even those that are still standing, the flames didn't touch them, but they have smoke damage that's so bad, or, they can't even sustain their business anymore because nobody's coming, because nobody's in Altadena. It really feels like a ghost town.
If I can interpret that, it sounds like you're saying they may have survived the fire, but they may not survive the aftermath.
Exactly. Which is really heartbreaking.
Thousands of businesses.
I would estimate. Yeah. There's so many ripple effects and there's so many, even just driving by, you can see, and they're all closed.
And if I take you at your word, if we're talking about thousands of businesses, those are thousands upon thousands of employees, people who they employ, presumably who would be without jobs, or at least that job going forward.
Right. Out of work. Octavia's Bookshelf was one of the first, if not she was the first independent Black bookstore owner in Pasadena. And I've done a couple stories with her. Nikki High is the owner there. And she employs a couple of people. But they had to turn their entire bookstore, which is another really tiny little space. And I think it's right on the border of Pasadena. And I think it's Pasadena. But she also is affected in many different ways. And they turned their entire bookstore that's already struggling, by the way. She already had to start a GoFundMe just to keep her own doors open. She turned her entire bookstore into a recovery center because people were coming in just needing help. She couldn't even sell books because there was so much need. And that's one example of countless that we've heard over the last 4 months.
That is one example, but I always ask people the general sense, are you encouraged by what you see, or are you more discouraged? You could be more discouraged because you think about the totality of the thousands of businesses and now former employees, which will never return. There are a lot of businesses which will never come back, and that's an unfortunate reality. But are you encouraged at the resilience that you may come across?
That's exactly it. I was going to use that same word because it's the one thing that I see that really ties all of everybody that I speak with there together. It is a sense of resilience and almost a defiance. Like, yes, everything seems like it's horrible right now, but we will rise from these ashes. And we'll do it together, and we'll do it with each other, and we'll do it leaning on each other, and we'll do it hand in hand almost. And that's the beauty in it. Every single person I talk to is crying by the end of the interview because there is that sense of hope and love and community and a restoration in humanity amid true devastation.
Taylor Torregano, this is the first time we had a chance to work together in person, even though we may pass each other at Spectrum. We've known each other from a distance for quite some time. Yeah. This is not going to be the last time that you come on with us. And I also want people to know more about you and your work. How can they find you on social media?
Instagram at Taylor Torregano. I'm trying not to get onto the TikTok craze because I know once I get on it, I'll just scroll incessantly all day. So just Instagram.
Spell your name real quick.
TaylorTorregano.
Taylor Torregano, a pleasure to officially have you on the show, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Mo Kelly.
And you said Thursday, most likely, that this is going to air.
Thursday morning.
All right. It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640 and YouTube. We are live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
If you already know what you want us to say, you're probably in the wrong place.
KFI
and KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere.